I think my mother did exactly the right thing. I think it's absolutely extraordinary.
27 years after Princess Diana's tragic death, Buckingham Palace unveils a secret that could shake the monarchy to its core. During quiet renovations at Kensington Palace, a sealed room is uncovered, untouched since Diana's final days. Inside lies an ornate jewelry box engraved with a haunting message for those who dare seek truth. Dis. When Princess Anne is tasked with cataloguing the contents, what begins as royal duty spirals into a chilling revelation of betrayal, cover-ups, and danger. Hidden letters, secret banks, and Diana's own confessions point to a powerful conspiracy she was ready to expose, but someone made sure she never got the chance. As Anne digs deeper, one question echoes louder than the rest: who really silenced the people's princess? Subscribe, like, and share as we follow Anne's journey from loyal Chapter 2, the jewelry box royal to justice-seeking rebel. The truth Diana died protecting may finally come to light. The unexpected inheritance. In the spring of the year 2024, renovation crews descended upon the quieter wings of Kensington Palace. What was meant to be a structural update to one of the oldest sections of the estate quickly turned into something else entirely. Beneath layers of dust and behind a sealed wooden panel, workers uncovered a forgotten room, small, silent, and untouched since the late Princess Diana's final days. It was a chamber of memories, frozen in time. When word reached Buckingham Palace, it was Princess Anne who was summoned. As the most senior working royal, still carrying the weight of duty and known for her discretion, she was a natural choice to oversee the cataloguing of the room's contents. Though Anne had long distanced herself from the spectacle of royal drama, there was no denying the gravity of what had been found. Stepping into the room, Anne was struck by the stillness. Dust clung to elegant evening gowns, boxes of handwritten notes, and framed photos of a woman whose life had been both revered and relentlessly scrutinized. Diana. Anne's feelings about her late sister-in-law were complicated. In the beginning, she had dismissed her as too soft, too emotional, too hungry for attention, but over time, behind closed doors and away from cameras, Anne had come to see Diana's fierce devotion to her sons and her causes. There had been moments, rare and unspoken, when Anne had respected her. Thousands of items lay before her, but only one caught her eye. Nestled at the back of a shelf, partially concealed beneath a silk scarf, sat an ornate jewelry box. It was unlike anything else in the room. Intricately carved from dark rosewood and inlaid with delicate pearls and sapphires, it shimmered even under a layer of dust. The craftsmanship was masterful, the aura different, intimate, private. Anne picked it up with a curious frown. The weight of it was oddly heavy, as though it carried more than just jewelry. She turned it slowly in her gloved hands, inspecting the fine details. Then she saw it, an inscription etched subtly into the base of the lid, as though never meant for public eyes. For those who dare seek truth, DS. The initials sent a cold ripple down Anne's spine. Diana Spencer, not even Princess of Wales, just her own name. Personal, defiant. Anne looked around the room again, this time with different eyes. Had Diana left behind more than trinkets and gowns? What truth was she referring to? Why would she hide a message so cryptic inside something so beautiful? Clutching the box, Anne knew this was no ordinary inheritance. It was a puzzle, a message, and possibly a warning. Whatever lay inside was meant for someone bold enough to look beyond appearances, someone who perhaps too late finally wished she had asked more questions while there was still time. The hidden compartment. Princess Anne sat alone in her private quarters, the jewelry box resting on a velvet cloth before her. Its surface had been polished with care, but her eyes were fixed on the inscription again and again. For those who dare seek truth, those words refused to leave her. Anne was not one for theatrics, yet something about the message pulled at her sense of duty, and something deeper she was not ready to name. She opened the lid with steady hands. The contents were breathtaking. Nestled inside were earrings of rare Burmese rubies, a sapphire bracelet that shimmered like starlight, and a pendant of emerald and diamond so precisely cut it seemed to glow from within. But as Anne examined each piece, she noticed something strange. Etched into the back of each item were tiny markings, symbols, dates, and initials that didn't match any royal inventory record she had ever seen. She retrieved a magnifying glass and studied the markings closely. Some resembled coordinates, others looked like references, maybe case numbers, maybe dates. One brooch bore a number that looked like an international bank code. Her brow furrowed. These were not sentimental keepsakes. They were breadcrumbs. She turned her attention back to the box itself. Her fingers moved instinctively across its grooves and panels, her mind tracing the craftsmanship. Then, by chance, or perhaps fate, her thumb pressed against a raised section near the base. There was a soft click, and the bottom panel shifted ever so slightly. Anne paused, holding her breath. She slid the panel open. Inside was a second compartment, shallow but tightly packed. It contained a bundle of handwritten letters, faded but legible, tied with a pale blue ribbon. They smelled faintly of lavender. Beneath them lay a cluster of glossy photographs, Diana clearly in disguise meeting with individuals and did not recognize. The backdrops were unfamiliar too: cafes, underground parking garages, private homes. None of it fit the public life the Princess of Wales was known for. Tucked beneath the photographs was a small silver key. Attached was a tag, Zurich Deposit Box 837L. Anne stared at it, stunned. Her heart beat heavier as she turned back to the letters. Her name was written in Diana's looping script on the first envelope, to Anne. Please read if I am gone. The date on the corner was chilling, just 3 days before Diana's death in Paris. Anne sat down slowly, hands slightly trembling. She unfolded the first letter. The ink had smudged in places as though it had been written in haste. Her eyes landed on the opening line and froze. And if you're reading this, then they succeeded in silencing me. The room spun for a moment. This was not sentiment. This was not a drama. This was a warning from beyond the grave. Anne closed her eyes and took a breath. Whatever truth Diana had uncovered, it was now in her hands, and someone had gone to great lengths to keep it buried. Diana's final confession. The letter trembled slightly in Princess Anne's grasp, but her gaze remained steady. Diana's handwriting filled the page, elegant yet urgent, the stroke slanting forward as if she had been racing against time. Anne read on, her breath catching as the tone shifted from affectionate to grave. Diana began by recalling a charity gala in the year 1995, the night she first suspected something was wrong. A respected children's foundation, one she had tirelessly championed, had failed to deliver funds to its overseas programs. When she quietly pressed for answers, she was met with evasions, financial misstatements, and eventually threats. The further she investigated, the deeper the rot seemed to go. Anne turned the page and found a spreadsheet in Diana's own hand, meticulously copied numbers, bank transfers, and anonymized accounts. According to Diana's notes, funds meant for landmine survivors, children's hospitals, and women's shelters had been funneled into personal accounts. Some belonged to powerful businessmen. Others, more disturbingly, had ties to figures within the royal household. Diana's voice in the letter grew colder, more resolute. She wrote about late-night meetings with investigative journalists, one from France, another from Switzerland, who were already sniffing out signs of a larger conspiracy. She mentioned code names, dead drops, and surveillance. She had even begun recording her conversations, storing tapes in undisclosed locations. Whistleblowers had come to her in secret, offering documents and testimony, terrified for their lives. Anne sat back in her chair, heart pounding. She had never truly imagined Diana capable of orchestrating something like this. For years, she had thought of her as emotionally impulsive, compassionate, yes, but reckless. But this was not recklessness. This was strategy. This was a woman aware of the predators circling her, documenting every step because she knew they might come for her next. Diana's tone softened in parts of the letter when she spoke of William and Harry. "I am not afraid to die," she had written, "but I am afraid for them, of what they will be forced to inherit if this truth is buried with me." And blinked away the sting of tears she did not expect to feel. She had misjudged Diana. The final months of her life had not been defined by scandal or sorrow alone. They had been a race to reveal the truth, a desperate mission to protect her sons from the shadowy forces manipulating the crown from within. As she reached the final page, Anne's fingers froze over a single underlined sentence near the bottom. "If you find this, Anne, then know I left behind a final insurance policy. Everything hidden in a Swiss bank vault." She looked again at the small key from the hidden compartment, suddenly heavier in meaning. The truth Diana had died trying to deliver was not lost. It was waiting, buried beneath mountains, protected by silence and secrecy, and someone else besides her was likely searching for it too. The Swiss connection. The private jet touched down in Zurich under cover of early morning fog. Princess Anne had travelled without fanfare, without aides, and without explanation. Only her closest security detail knew her location, and even they had been given a misleading itinerary. The key Diana had left behind was tucked securely in the inner pocket of her coat, resting over her heart like a quiet weight of obligation. The Swiss bank was discreet, centuries old, and used to clients who valued silence above all, and presented the key and the tag with the number 837L, her voice calm though her heart drummed in her ears. The bank clerk glanced at her identification, nodded without recognition, and led her through layers of security, each more sterile and silent than the last. Inside a secure viewing room, the box was placed before her, and hesitated for a breath, then opened it. Stacks of documents met her eyes, ledgers, receipts, financial transfers meticulously compiled. There were color-coded folders and photographs, each labeled in Diana's unmistakable handwriting. But most chilling of all were the tapes and digital discs tucked neatly at the bottom, each marked with a date and a subject. One simply read, "If I disappear," and inserted the first disc into the provided player. The screen flickered, and there she was, Diana, seated in what appeared to be a private flat, face bare, eyes tired but focused. She began to speak in a clear voice. "If you are watching this, then I have been silenced, but I want you to know what I found and why I could not walk away." And leaned in as Diana laid out names, not just faceless businessmen and foreign investors, but members of the aristocracy, men who smiled in press photos and hosted charity balls. Diana described how they used charities as financial fronts, diverting millions to fund arms deals, offshore accounts, and clandestine operations. She had tried to alert officials. Some listened, others warned her off. She detailed how she began to fear the brakes on her car had been tampered with, how she no longer trusted her security detail, how she moved through back entrances and coded her calls. Her eyes brimmed with tears when she spoke of William and Harry. "I must leave them something more than fairy tales," she whispered. "They need the truth." And sat frozen as the video ended, her stomach churning with horror. This was bigger than she had imagined, an international network intertwined with the very institutions meant to protect the people. Diana had not been paranoid. She had been right, and she had paid the ultimate price. She turned toward the bank clerk who had been waiting outside the room. His expression was unreadable, but his words stopped her breath. "You're not the first to ask about this box," he said quietly. "Someone else came by 2 weeks ago. They claimed to be family." Anne's fingers tightened around the key. The race had begun.